Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Oil. Money. It looks like war with Venezuela, war between Venezuela and the United States, is about to kick off. We'll tell you what Trump said about that today and how close we are to an armed conflict there. We'll get the reaction, and we'll also talk about David Eby, BC Premier, reacting to the pipeline deal that was highlighted yesterday at the UCP AGM, United Conservative Party of Alberta, and their annual general meeting, and how much impact that's having on Canada nationally, a province that feels it has no sway or influence over the rest of the country, is, well, having a great deal of impact tonight, and they have for a long time. And that impact is deepening as the whole oil, energy, AI revolution evolves. We'll dig into all of that tonight, so stay tuned. We have quite a bit to share with you. I'll be right back.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News. Defending free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching. Maverick News. The world is watching.
All right, let's start right off the top with this situation with Venezuela. Trump apparently has had a phone conversation with President Maduro of Venezuela. Questioned about it on Air Force One during this media gaggle. Let's pick it up. Audio is never good on these things, so please bear with us as we do our best. Audio is cranked full, so I hope you can make the most of it. He says it was, well, he described it as a phone call. Here we go.
Numbers come out, as you know, we're doing very well economically.
He's also going to comment on Ukraine.
All over the country and all of that, but very strong numbers came out. Go ahead.
Can you give us an update on what took place in South Florida today, these talks between the U.S. and the Ukrainians?
Well, they're going along. They're going along well. We want to stop people from being killed. It doesn't have much to do with us. And I'd like to see if we can save a lot of souls. A lot of people are being killed. Last month we had 27,000 people killed in that ridiculous war that should have never happened. It would have never happened if it was.
Have you spoken with Rubio and Wickoff since then?
I have, yeah. I've spoken to them. They're doing well. Ukraine's got some difficult little problems. Some difficult problems. But I think Russia would like to see it end, and I think I know Ukraine would like to see it end.
You just said that Israel has a little bit of problems.
Well, we have a corruption situation going on, which is not helpful.
And is that impeding the peace talks?
I said it was going on for 3 years, right? Didn't I say for 3 years I said it? So I was way ahead of schedule. But I think that there's a good chance we can make a deal.
Mr. President, on Venezuela, can you tell us more about why the airspace above Venezuela should be considered closed?
Because we consider Venezuela to be not a very friendly country. They send millions of people, really, and probably a number in excess of that. And a lot of those people shouldn't be in our country, from jails, from gangs, from drug dealers, from all of the people that came into our country shouldn't have been in our country, causing a lot of problems.
Does your warning,
And drugs.
does your warning mean that an airstrike is imminent, or should we not read it that way?
Don't read anything into it.
The New York Times reported that you had a phone call with Maduro. Did you?
I don't want to comment on it. The answer is yes.
And can you tell us a little bit
No,
about
I can't do that.
Mr.
Would you
President,
say it went well?
I wouldn't say it went well or badly.
you think so?
Can we talk a little bit about the strikes and the controversy around Secretary of Defense Pete said?
I don't know anything about it. He said he did not say that, and I believe him.
So you don't know if there was
You're talking about the two men?
the second strike to kill the two men.
He said he didn't do it. He said he never said
Would
it.
you be okay with that if he did?
He said he didn't do it, so I don't have to make that decision.
Mr. You've made so clear how you want to keep drugs out of the U.S.
Right.
Can you explain more about why you would pardon a notorious drug trafficker,
Well, I don't know who you're talking about. Which
Juan
one?
Fernando Hernandez?
Well, I was told, I was asked by Honduras, many of the people of Honduras, they said it was a Biden setup. I don't mean Biden, look, Biden didn't know he was alive, but it was the people that surround the Resolute desk, surround Biden when he was there, which was about very little time. And the people of Honduras really thought he was set up and it was a terrible thing. He was the president of the country, and they basically said he was a drug dealer because he was the president of the country. And they said it was a Biden administration setup. And I looked at the facts and I agreed with them.
What evidence did you share that he was set up and that he wasn't?
Well, you take a look. I mean, they could say that you take any country you want. If somebody sells drugs in that country, that doesn't mean you arrest the president and put him in jail for the rest of his life.
Mr. President, can I just clarify, do you think the
And that
U.S.
includes this country, okay? To be honest. I mean, if somebody does something wrong, you put the president of the country in jail. They said it was a Biden setup. It was a Biden administration setup. And you have a big race going on this week, next week. I think it's going to be a very important race. It'll be interesting to see Honduras. That's what you're talking about, right?
Correct, yes.
Yes, ma'am. Well, what is the second part of your question? No, I don't have a deadline. I have a deadline when the war is over. And hopefully the war is going to be over. 27,000 people killed last week. 27,000 over the last 3 or 4 weeks. 27,000 people killed. That war should end.
President, just for clarity, if there, on the Venezuela boat strike, if there were a second strike that killed wounded people, even in the first strike, are you thinking that would be legal? You think
Number
that's
one, I don't know that happened. And Pete said he did not Pete said that didn't happen.
Does that make you?
I have great confidence.
He's saying there's no second strike.
I don't know. I'm going to find out about it. But Pete said he did not order the death of those two men.
Do you have any concerns about how those boat strikes have been carried out at all?
Very little, because you can see the boats, you can see the drugs in the boats, and each boat is responsible for killing 25,000 Americans. So, and they're doing an amazing job. And you know, we're getting, you just look at the numbers, the amount of drugs coming into our country by sea is infinitesimal compared to what it was just a few months ago.
On immigration,
And each boat, think of this, each boat on average is responsible for the death of 25,000 Americans.
on immigration, your administration made a lot of moves throughout the last few days after we know that Afghan national is the suspected shooter of these National Guardsmen.
People that shouldn't be in our country. That's right.
So you announced that asylum.
And that includes Somalians and it includes plenty of others.
How long does your administration plan to pause asylum into the U.S.?
I think a long time.
Can you give any
We
kind
don't
of
want
time?
them. We don't want those people. We have enough problems. We don't want those people.
Is that a year, 2 years?
No time limit.
And then
But it could be a long time.
you said that.
We don't want those people. Do you understand that?
I understand.
You understand it?
I understand.
Who are you with?
I'm with News Nation.
Okay,
My
News
name's
Nation.
Linda.
News Nation. Great.
Thank
Let
you.
me just say this. We don't want those people. Does that make sense? You know why we don't want them? Because many of them are no good and they shouldn't be in our
What do
country.
you mean by those people? Can you
The people
clarify?
from different countries that are not friendly to us and countries that are out of control themselves. Countries like Somalia that have virtually no government, no military, no police. All they do is go around killing each other. Then they come into our country and tell us how to run our country. We don't want them.
What are you talking?
How
You
many
talking?
countries roughly?
You gotta talk up.
She said how many
How many
countries?
countries? Is there a list?
Well, I guess we gave you 19, right?
Okay.
There's probably more than that.
Is that what you mean when you mean third world countries? Those 19.
No, I don't think they're all third world, but in many cases they are third world. They're not good countries. They're very crime-ridden countries. They're countries that don't do a good job. They're countries that don't register from the standpoint of success. And we frankly don't need their people coming into our country telling us what to do.
And you talk about
Now I'm talking about
denaturalization.
like Somalia, where you have a congressman goes around telling everybody about our Constitution, and yet she supposedly came into our country by marrying her brother. Well, if that's true, she shouldn't be a congressman, and we should throw her the hell out of our country.
Off of that, in that same post, you mentioned Tim Walz, and you called him what many Americans do find offensive or retarded. Do you stand by that claim of calling Tim Walz retarded?
Yeah, I think there's something wrong with it. Absolutely, sure.
Because you don't
You
think
have a problem with it? You know what? I think there's something wrong with it. Anybody that would do what he did, anybody that would allow those people into the state and pay billions of dollars out to Somalia. We give billions of dollars to Somalia. It's not even a country because it doesn't function like a country. It's got a name, but it doesn't function like a country. Yeah, there's something wrong with Walls.
Mr. President, you said that you might denaturalize some American citizens. Can you talk
You
about
mean people that are in here that shouldn't be here?
that became Americans? Are you
Well,
trying to
we'll see.
revoke
I
their
mean, yeah, if we have criminals that came into our country and they were naturalized maybe through a fight or somebody that didn't know what they were doing. If I have the power to do it, I'm not sure that I do, but if I do, I would denaturalize absolutely.
What do you mean by
Dan, you have a question? Yeah.
What do you mean by reverse migration?
It means get people out that are in our country, get them out of here. I want to get them out. We got a lot of people in our country that shouldn't be here, and they came in through Biden, and he was the worst president in the history of our country. But the single biggest thing he did was allow millions of people into our country that shouldn't be here. Drug dealers, prisons were opened up and allowed to come into our country. You take a look at the people that were allowed to come into our country. We're paying a big price for it, and we will for years to come, including the recent killer of two wonderful National Guards people. And I'll tell you what, that animal should not have been allowed to come into our country. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Have you spoken to the Andrew Wolf's family? Can you give us an update on
I have spoken to both families. Well, I mean, I can give you an update. They're devastated. Does that make sense to you? They're devastated.
Can you give us an update on Andrew Wolf's?
Well, as you know, the one is no longer with us. And fighting for his life. And his parents are unbelievably great people, highly religious people, and they're praying, and they want everybody to pray for Andrew. And he has a chance to make it, but he is, his mother and father, they were so unbelievable. They were so positive. From West Virginia, great state. I spoke with Sarah's parents, too, and the only thing I can say, they were devastated.
Do you plan
They
to
can't
bring
even believe it.
It's absolutely devastating to lose your children. Do you plan to bring the Beck troops to the White House?
Yeah, I do. I've already suggested it. I said, when you're ready, 'cause that's a tough thing, come to the White House. We're going to honor Sarah. And likewise with Andrew, recover or not, we're going to honor you.
I do have one more question about Witkoff, because you mentioned, and this was asked previously, can you tell us what day Witkoff is going to meet with Putin? And then on that, is that meeting...
Sometime next week.
Okay, you don't have it. Is it early next week, late next week?
Sometime next week.
And
President, on healthcare, because it's so important to so many Americans.
You know, one of the reasons that healthcare can work is because of what I just did with favored nations. You're going to have drug prices coming down 500, 600, 700% because of me. In other words, we're going to have the lowest drug prices, tied for the lowest drug prices anywhere in the world. It's called favored nations, and you don't talk about it. It's probably the biggest thing to happen in medicine in the last 100 years, and it can have a huge impact, positive impact on pricing for healthcare.
Are you any closer on that
what about
decision
extending
on picking a new Fed chair? Are you any closer on that right now?
I know who I'm going to pick.
Kevin Hassan.
I'm telling you, we'll be announcing it. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. President.
This is a rocky flight. We're going to get out of here before something happens. They asked about my MRI. MRIs are very...
Governor Walz asked you to release the MRI records.
Will you tell us what it was
Governor
for?
Walz, you mean the incompetent governor? So if they want to release it, it's okay with me to release it. It's perfect.
What was the reason they were
It's like my phone call where I got impeached. It's absolutely perfect. So if you want to hear about it, or if you want to release it, you want to have it released.
Yes,
News Nation, failing News Nation.
No, sir, not failing.
News Nation is doing lousy, by the way. But if you want to have it released, I'll release it.
Please, can you tell us what they were looking at?
For what, releasing?
No. What part of your body was the MRI looking
I
at?
have no idea. It was just an MRI. What part of the body? It wasn't the brain, because I took a cognitive test and I aced it. I got a perfect mark, which you would be incapable of doing. Goodbye, everybody.
Thank
You
you,
too.
Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you
President.
so much.
I did not find, this is a sidebar. I did not find the questions hostile. I thought those reporters were respectful. They weren't even hard questions, and he still attacked those reporters, especially the one from News Nation, which I think is a conservative-leaning, pro-Trump news organization, and he smeared them. Is he... Whatever. I don't understand. Why would he do that? She was just asking questions, and she wasn't even hostile. But hey, that's Trump. So we're going to have to break that down, because he touched on a number of things there. How about Ukraine first? Yeah, we have Rubio talks today in Florida with the delegation from Ukraine. All of this going on against a backdrop of escalating attacks on both sides. But we've seen, oh my goodness, how many drones? Was it 5 or almost 600, I think, drones that Russia launched against Kyiv? A lot of damage, people killed, including children, overnight, massive devastation, many civilian targets hit, very demoralizing for people. And yet the Ukrainians still resilient, still in the mix, still fighting. I see propaganda, both sides ramping up, especially on the Russian side, frankly. I've seen in the last 48 hours more stories about Ukrainian desertions, Ukraine being backed into a corner with not enough manpower, the same kind of things that we've been hearing from the very beginning of the war, but just amplified right now. And it is just at a point where you just don't know what to believe. I do know that Ukraine has also been launching attacks in the Black Sea and against Russian shadow fleet oil tankers, and that has been very successful. You're seeing more attacks against energy infrastructure on both sides, with Ukraine now continuing strikes inside Russia, which is putting pressure on Putin. It is having an impact on the Russian economy. To measure the depth, the scale, the true impact of all of this on either side, very difficult in the fog of war, the fog of the information war. And really today, few details really released by Marco Rubio or anyone, frankly, after the talks today between the Ukraine delegation and the Secretary of State and his team. It is odd to listen to Rubio after you hear some of the rhetoric from the president and others in the U.S. administration who really, I think a lot of them are, well, they're certainly not friends of Ukraine, but Rubio saying it's not just enough to end the war. They are looking for some sort of a resolution that preserves Ukrainian sovereignty. Here's what he said at the end of the day today.
Got another very productive session, building off Geneva, building off the events of this week. As I told you earlier this morning, our goal here is to end the war, but it's more than just to end the war. We don't just want to end the war, we also want to help Ukraine be safe forever, so never again will they face another invasion, and equally importantly, we want them to enter an age of true prosperity. We want the Ukrainian people to emerge from this war, not just to rebuild their country, but to build it back in a way that will be stronger and more prosperous than it's ever been. And so this is comprehensive, what we're working on here today. It's not just about the terms that ends fighting. It's about also the terms that set up Ukraine for long-term prosperity. I thought we started laying the groundwork for that, most certainly in Geneva. I think we continued that work in our communications throughout the week. I think we built on that again today, but there's more work to be done. This is delicate, it's complicated. There are a lot of moving parts, and obviously there's another party involved here that'll have to be a part of the equation, and that'll continue later this week when Mr. Woodcock travels to Moscow. Although we've also been in touch in varying degrees with the Russian side, but we have a pretty good understanding of their views as well. So much work remains, but today was again a very productive and useful session where I think additional progress was made. And we continue to be realistic about how difficult this is, but optimistic, particularly given the fact that as we've made progress, I think there's a shared vision here that this is not just about ending the war, which is very important. It is about securing Ukraine's future, a future that we hope will be more prosperous than it's ever been.
Witkoff set to go to Russia, as you heard Trump say sometime later this week. He did not confirm the day. But this all coming on the heels of the apparent leaked audio that suggested the 28-point peace plan was written by Russia, revised slightly by the Trump administration, then presented to Ukraine, revised after continued negotiation down to 19 points. That's what they're talking about in Florida today. Who knows what will come of this meeting in Russia later this week. From the way things look, probably nothing on the Russian side, getting a lot of rhetoric on that side suggesting that they feel they have more than the upper hand and that Ukraine is about to collapse. But the tone of the rhetoric, to me, that rhetoric sounds very much like what we've just been hearing all along, at times being amplified. And I think that's what we're getting now. And every time there is a prediction of Ukraine folding, collapsing, capitulating, giving up, being crushed, it doesn't come true. So instead of a war that was supposed to last about a week, we now have a conflict that has dragged on for over 3 years. So again, what to believe? Difficult. It's difficult to know what to believe in the fog of the information war. So we'll pivot over to what's going on with Venezuela tonight. Trump, again, his Truth Social post saying that airspace above Venezuela should be considered closed to all narco terrorist traffickers and commercial airlines. Yesterday, we showed you an activity map graphic showing how much air traffic was still flowing or flying over Venezuela, and there was still some. So it didn't look like people were taking it too seriously, but that has shifted. As you can see from this same source, updated graphic, you can see that within the boundary lines of Venezuela, very few planes actually flying over the country now. Lots around it, but nothing directly over it, except for there's 3, there's 4, but they're all around the edges. Also reports tonight of U.S. fighter jets flying low along the coastline. Definite escalation as war appears imminent tonight between the United States and Venezuela, and that is attracting considerable scrutiny and criticism. I don't really hear too many people sounding excited about it. I do see people online coming up with justifications for it. The justification, namely, drug traffickers doing battle or going to war with narco terrorists. Justified, true. You can be the judge. I'd say very difficult again to really know. But any way you slice it, this is unorthodox, maybe not even legal. And that brings us back to the whole issue of, what's moral, what's ethical, what's legal. Should Trump be getting congressional approval before launching any kind of military operation against Venezuela, which would constitute an act of war? Well, some people think so. I have one such critic right here. This being posted tonight on MAGA Cult Slayer. Let's bring them up. This is Hiss Goes Cobra. So this was shared by that channel or that account. And here we go. And roll.
Well, America, you ready to be at war with Venezuela? Because that's what you got. Donald Trump just announced that he's closed the airspace over that country. And because, 1, that's a violation of their sovereignty. And number 2, because it's being enforced with our military, it constitutes an act of war. So that's where we're at. No congressional oversight, no declaration of war. It's based upon a foundation of lies from saying TDA was a gang connected to Maduro that was wreaking havoc in America, to saying he's a narco trafficker and responsible for drugs coming into the U.S., when in fact he supplies those drugs to Europe. And on top of all that, he just let the former president of Honduras, who brought 400 tons into this country, facing 45 years in prison. He pardoned him. He doesn't give a shit about drugs. So we're starting a war. Don't know why. Nobody knows what's going on. It's going to go bad because if you look at the trajectory into it, it's the worst we've had in modern history. So buckle up.
Are you worried? Are you ready? Are you set to buckle up? Why would Trump be doing this? And why would he use the same justification against Maduro, drug trafficking, that was leveled against the leader of Honduras, and yet end up pardoning the leader of Honduras while still going after Maduro. I thought about it. What's the difference? Well, a couple of things. One, the leader of Honduras, Juan Hernandez, former president between 2014 and 2022, he's basically, or was ideologically, a conservative leader, prominent member of the center-right National Party of Honduras, which was known for its right-wing policies. But what is Maduro? Well, communist, far left. What's Trump doing? He's gone to war. Generally speaking, there is a global war, even at this point, against liberalism, socialism, communism, even though you're seeing a convergence of communism with fascism to create this neo-populism that Trump is embracing. But Maduro represents, in his rhetoric, communism / socialism, and the pro-war, pro-Venezuela, the hawks within the MAGA circles have always targeted Maduro and even Mexico as being too left, too socialist, too communist. So that, in my view, is the difference between Hernandez and Maduro, at least on the surface. But there's something else, and it's something that also relates to Canada. And this graphic, this animated infographic from Gravity, kind of sums it up. I'll pull the music down lest we get a copyright strike, but this should explain it. This is a graphic showing how much of the world's oil is produced by each of the leading oil producing companies by number of barrels. And this just Kazakhstan, China, Nigeria. Keep going. Go up, keep going up. The United States, 47 billion. Libya, 48 billion. Keep going. Go up, way up. Russia, the UAE, 80 billion from Russia, 97 billion UAE. Kuwait, 101 billion. Somalia, country that Trump apparently doesn't like, 111 billion. Keep going, way up. Iraq, 145 billion barrels. Keep going, stretch, way up. Canada, 170 billion. Keep going. Reach. Iran, 208 billion. Keep going. Keep going. Saudi Arabia, 258 billion. And keep on rocking all the way to the top, 303 billion barrels. Does that help maybe put things into perspective a little bit? Why the interest in Venezuela? Is it really about the drugs? Why the interest in Canada, Kazakhstan? Is it really about the drugs? Is it really about fentanyl? Is that why? What was it? Here it is right here. Is that why now, when you go to the post office and if you send a package from Canada to the United States, you have to go online and fill out a thing called the Zonos Declaration because of the Trump tariffs? Is that why? Because of fentanyl? Because that's what it says online. I'm sure it doesn't have anything to do with the situation out there in Alberta. But wait, there's more. There's more. we have these AI centers that are of great interest on all sides, talking about building AI centers in Alberta. It's all about energy, man, because those artificial intelligence data centers will be like giant energy sponges. Everybody knows it. That's why Mark Carney was out in Alberta making the deal on the pipeline out to the West Coast through BC, whether Eby likes it or not, the premier there. That's why he was talking about other sources of energy for Alberta, including modular nuclear reactors, which will be needed if you're going to run these AI centers. And that's why Elon Musk in this clip echoes what I've been saying here for the last while, that it is actually energy that is the currency, the money of the future, as represented through digital currencies like Bitcoin or decentralized forms of currency, digital currencies, because you're turning basically energy into digital money. But the actual true value and the actual money that's trading, in a sense, is actually the energy, the oil, which is sort of what we've had since the 1970s, and the United States dollar, the world reserve currency, being tied to the value of oil. Hence the description of the US dollar as the petrodollar. Well, that's being converted into digital currency, and even currencies like the Canadian and US dollars, like the actual, even physical money, it has been digitized, whether you realize it or not. We do have digital currency now. That's what happens every time you use your debit card or your credit card and you swipe. It's just numbers and computers. Bitcoin's just an extension, an evolution of that. But conventional currency is already digitized with some physical paper and coin money out there in the marketplace for people to conduct transactions physically, face-to-face, hand-to-hand. But listen to what Elon Musk has to say about this. He kind of explains further what I've been talking about, how in the future, the nature of money is going to change, because it's actually the energy, the money, the oil that is going to be the money.
Currencies, if you will, that are physics-based. So energy is the true currency. This is why I said Bitcoin is based on energy. You can't legislate energy. You can't just, pass a law and suddenly have a lot of energy. It's very difficult to generate energy, or especially to harness energy in a useful way to do useful work. So I think that probably we won't have money, and probably we'll just have energy, power generation as the de facto currency. Currencies, if you will.
Let me pull that down. So it's a I hope that helps you understand. It's a difficult concept. Money itself is kind of an abstract thing, but it just shows you how things have evolved. Now, back in Canada, related to that, of course, we've seen just yesterday, Danielle Smith, Alberta Premier, standing up at the United Conservative Party annual general meeting out in Alberta, talking about the pipeline deal that she signed, a memorandum of understanding with Prime Minister Carney, aimed at pushing ahead with a pipeline out to Canada's west coast through the province of British Columbia, at which point she was booed pretty vigorously by members of her own party. I think she was taken aback by it, especially at one point where she says she hopes the MOU will help people understand or see that Canada can and does work. I'm paraphrasing. And at that point, about half the crowd booed and half the crowd seemed to be okay with it or didn't respond. But there were a few references to the pipeline deal. Overall, didn't really go well for Danielle Smith, who now I think is facing a monster that has been created out in Alberta, which is a separatist monster that is going to be very difficult for her and the party to control. The UCP has been engaged in an anti-Canadian, anti-Eastern Canada, more specifically, information campaign in order to assert its, I guess, sovereignty ahead of being fully sovereign, but in order to get leverage, in order to get a better deal, as they put it, for Alberta. And as she says, she's still in favor of a sovereign Alberta within a united Canada. Now, that's a complexity within a complex country that deserves further discussion and, I'd say, scrutiny. What does that really mean? Difficult concept. Do you really understand it? I'm sure we'll dig into it more in the days ahead, but as a result of all that, it is, it's creating shockwaves politically within Canada. Can Canada even survive as a country because of this? Coming from a province that apparently carries no political weight and can't influence anything. The activities alone out there that have surrounded the separatist movement threaten to destroy the very country that apparently gives the province no weight. Not true, you see. Alberta is very important. So is British Columbia, which has been opposed to a pipeline, largely, a new one coming through British Columbia. Premier of Alberta saying there's already a pipeline out there. It's not at full capacity. They should make better use of that before they build a new one. He's also digging his heels in on the tanker ban on certain areas of the coastal line of British Columbia. And David Eby, he says that he is now, because he's kind of see that over the weekend and yesterday in particular, there's this really complex political situation that has developed, and it has put pressure on BC. And he's now saying that he's open to discussing a new oil pipeline through BC, as long as the federal ban on oil tankers along BC's north coast remains firmly in place. He was on CTV's Question Period television program, interview program, not Question Period in the House of Commons, but he was on CTV's Question Period today. And Eby told the host, Vasi Kapelos, the tanker ban is the foundational social license for tens of billions in investment in British Columbia. He said keeping the ban would dramatically lower tensions with coastal First Nations and could open the door to creative solutions, as he put it, on increased export capacity. So under the MOU, or Memorandum of Understanding, Alberta has committed to negotiate a new industrial carbon price with a floor of $130 per ton by April of 2026. In return, Ottawa has agreed to suspend clean electricity rules in Alberta, scrap the planned oil and gas emissions cap, and, if needed, grant an exemption to the 2019 tanker ban for a new Pacific pipeline. But Carney, the Prime Minister, Mark Carney, for our American viewers or others who maybe are not aware of who our new prime minister is, stressed any new pipeline would only move ahead if a private sector company steps forward. Eby is calling lifting the North Coast tanker ban a grave mistake and is warning of severe economic damage should a spill occur. And he pointed out that BC has already offered to help Alberta by supporting a 40% capacity increase on the existing Trans Mountain pipeline, with extra volume as possible as early as next year, even though, in his words, he said, we fought that pipeline pretty hard with gritted teeth. Let's go over to the clip now of Eby on CTV's Question Period, this happening today. Okay, grab the clip and let's roll that.
Beyond, though, the optimization of TMX, I take your point on that. I take your point on the tanker ban. If there is the possibility of additional export capacity beyond that does not impact the tanker ban, are you inherently against that, is my question?
No, I think we can have those conversations. My anxiety is about this oil tanker ban, which is the foundational social license piece for tens of billions of dollars of investment in BC that is nearing final investment decision, and tens of billions of dollars of investment that is medium term as well, like expansion at the Port of Prince Rupert and so on. And so if we can agree that the oil tanker ban is going to stay in place, then let's have those conversations. I think that would make life a lot better and easier in British Columbia in terms of our relationship with coastal First Nations. And we definitely take down the temperature and maybe enable some creative solutions. I'd love to talk about refining. We're buying oil and gas from the United States right now. Let's refine some of that Alberta bitumen and use it in cars in British Columbia. Lots of people still driving gas cars, myself included. And why don't we do projects that add value to Canadian resources and get a net win for everybody out of that?
You sound, I hope you don't mind me saying, you sound less angry than you did the previous few times that we spoke about this prior to the MOU. Is there a reason for that?
Well, look, if the federal government is going to impose this on British Columbia, they're going to impose it on British Columbia. We've been down that road. I don't think it's beneficial to be fighting. The piece that does, Vashi, if you're looking for Premier Eby agitated,
I'm not looking for it. I'm just curious. I promise.
Well, no, of course not. But the Nutrien decision gets me agitated because instead of Premier Scott Moe calling me up, engaging with me about this huge billion-dollar decision about whether to ship potash out of British Columbia or out of Washington State. He was engaging with Danielle Smith on this non-existent pipeline project. I didn't hear from the federal government about the Nutrien decision. I had no idea that there was even a prospect that this company would consider putting themselves in the hands of Donald Trump to have tariffs or ban of potash being shipped out of Washington State. And they made the decision, apparently, to ship out of Washington State instead of out of British Columbia. We should have been talking about their concerns about clogged up rail lines and access to the port. We should have been front of the line advocating with Saskatchewan, with the federal government for resources around rail to deal with that. But instead, it was a huge amount of energy went into this non-existent pipeline project. And my worry is we're taking our eyes off the prize.
What is the prize? I think it depends on who you talk to. Maybe the entire province of Alberta, or maybe the entire country of Canada is ultimately the prize. A tanker ban with an oil pipeline, it doesn't seem like it's compatible. What I think Eby is saying here is that the tanker ban is targeted at certain parts of the BC coast, and they can still get oil to market to Asian markets by having it ship out from certain ports, not ports along the north coast. So we'll see how all that plays out. Some of it seems nonsensical, but you really have to dig into the details to figure it out and understand the real issues. Let's take a short break. We're going to come back and pivot back to Venezuela. We have a lot of other stuff to share with you tonight, so do not turn that dial.
Maverick News isn't just a news outlet, it's a community of truth seekers. Your donation at freedomreporters.com fuels our mission to report the stories that mainstream media won't touch. Thank you, Maverick family.
So in the past, was it been a week, maybe longer, since that video went viral showing some U.S. politicians sending a message out to U.S. military members saying they have an obligation to not follow illegal orders, even if coming from the commander-in-chief. At the center of all that, Mark Kelly, veteran, senator, one-time space shuttle pilot. Is he patriotic? Does he still hold allegiance to the United States of America? Trump wants Kelly and others maybe executed because of that video. There he is on Meet the Press today.
Process improvement is important.
Let me ask you about the other big story this week. You joined 5 other Democratic lawmakers in a video urging service members to disobey orders they believe are illegal. We're seeing some of that video play, Senator, right now. In response, the Pentagon has opened an investigation into military laws. It says that you may have violated. The FBI is reportedly launching its own probe. Now, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has personally threatened to recall you to active duty so that you can be court-martialed. Secretary Hegseth adding your video, quote, intentionally undercut good order and discipline. Did it?
I said something very simple and non-controversial. And Donald Trump said I should be hanged, executed, prosecuted. Pete Hegseth said I should be court-martialed. I mean, how ridiculous is this? We say follow the law, and this is their response. These are not serious people. And Kristen, this is meant to just intimidate us. We're sticking up for the Constitution here and the rule of law, and they're saying these folks should be executed for doing that. I mean, Pete Hegseth is not a serious person. He's unqualified for this job. Should have never been put in this job. I did not vote for him. I think he is the least qualified Secretary of Defense in the history of our country by far. And you can see this by how he has done this job over the last 6 months. And this president thinks he can bully and intimidate people, and he's not gonna stop me from speaking out and holding him accountable for the things that he does that are wrong and unlawful.
Do you plan to cooperate with any investigation, including a potential court-martial?
Well, just like saying that we should be hanged, executed, that's about intimidation. Sending the FBI after us, that's further intimidation. I'll follow the law, but I'm not going to be intimidated. I'm not going to be bullied, especially by Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth.
Let me ask you about the substance of this video and your message in it. What specific orders do you believe President Trump made that you consider unlawful?
Well, so this is looking forward, but let me give you a pass, an outline of things that he has said. In 2016, he said that the U.S. military will follow his illegal orders. He said something on a debate stage and was reminded that would be illegal. And he said the military will not refuse his orders, regardless of whether they're legal or not. He also talked about shooting protesters in the legs. How un-American, how unconstitutional is that? Fortunately, there was a Secretary of Defense that has stopped this. He's also talked about sending troops into U.S. cities to use those cities and people for training. I mean, we're concerned because of this president with this Secretary of Defense that we could have a significant problem. So this was a simple message, follow the law, and it was looking forward.
Well, and let me talk to you about some of what's happening right now. The Washington Post reporting that Secretary Hegseth gave an order to kill everybody on one of those suspected drug boats during the first strike in September. Are you calling for U.S. service members to actively disobey orders like those?
Well, if orders are illegal, Not only do they not have to follow them, they are legally required not to follow them.
Do you think that constitutes an illegal
I think
order?
there needs to be an investigation, and I hope that the reporting is not accurate. I care so much about the United States Navy and those service members. This was an operation involving the most professional members of the military, U.S. Navy SEALs, who I revere. I hope and pray that this is not true. But there needs to be an investigation by the Inspector General. Pete Hegseth fired many of the inspectors general in DOD. But who's ever left needs to investigate it. We're going to investigate it. I sit on the Armed Services Committee. We're going to have an investigation. We're going to have a public hearing. We're going to put these folks under oath, and we're going to find out what happened, and then there needs to be accountability.
Let me ask you, you referenced this. You were a pilot yourself. You flew 39 combat missions over Iraq and Kuwait. You're asking officers in the field to make really tough calls about the legality of what they are being asked to do. So I want to put the question to you. If you were still in uniform, if you received an order to strike suspected drug boats overseas and kill everybody on board, would you refuse that order in real time?
Well, let me start by saying I've sunk 2 boats, 2 ships. I sunk an OSA-2 missile patrol boat in Kuwait Harbor. I sunk a Polnokny troop carrier in the Persian Gulf during the first Gulf War. Never once did I question whether those orders were legal or illegal. People can tell the difference, should be able to tell the difference between something that is unlawful and something that is lawful. And if I was ever given an unlawful order, I would refuse. If you have time, you can certainly go to the judge, advocate generals, the lawyers, and have a discussion about it. If you don't have time, you just say simply, I'm not going to do that. That's against the law.
It puts a lot of burden on the troops to make a decision in real time.
It puts a tremendous amount of burden on officers in the military, but that is their responsibility, and they can figure out, a reasonable person can tell something that is legal and something that is illegal.
So would you refuse these specific orders to strike drug boats if you were still in uniform?
Well, the difference between the initial strike and what is being reported, as a second strike, and those things are different. I think this administration has tied themselves in knots, the explanations that we have received on how this is all legal. And I was saying weeks ago, my concern is with the service members, that we're going to put these individuals in a really, really tough decision, in a tough place. And they may find out, down the road that they did something that is illegal. It is not fair to them. That's why we need presidents and Secretary of Defense who understand the Constitution, who understand the rule of law, and have more respect for the Constitution and the country and service members than the whims of a president.
All right, Senator Mark Kelly, thank you so much for being here in person.
This is not going away. It's another festering issue. If you go back and the thing is, it's like, who's going to do anything about it? Because it seems some people, certainly some powerful people in the American government, the U.S. government right now, seems like they literally are above the law. This was last month. Trump asked about getting congressional approval and a declaration of war before putting boots on the ground in Venezuela.
And briefed them on the operations.
No, we
against
will
these.
go, I said.
You will go. And
We
it would
will
be
go.
difficult for them to object.
I don't see any loss in going. No reason not to. They'll always complain, we should have gone. So we're going to definitely, I'd like to just tell you, let's go. We'll go.
And Mr.
We're going to
President,
tell them what we're going to do, and I think they're going to probably like it, except for the radical left lunatics.
And Mr. President, if you are declaring war against these cartels and Congress is likely to approve of that process, why not just ask for a declaration of war?
Well, I don't think we're going to necessarily ask for a declaration of war. I think we're just going to kill people that are bringing drugs into our country. Okay? We're going to kill them. They're going to be like dead. Okay?
I let the comments stand. I don't need to say anything. Except I will advance the conversation by saying even what Hegseth may have done, if indeed he did order the survivors killed, even if held accountable, even if found guilty of a war crime, I guarantee you that the president will just pardon him.
She says,
back
no,
to the issue of oil, or the complicating factor of oil. Here's Maria Elvira Salazar saying Venezuela is on the brink of a major political break, claiming change is imminent within days, and saying that the largest reserves of oil in the world will be doing business with America.
President. She says, no, you cannot run. Politically speaking, according to this law, that other law.
Instead, you had corruption charges.
Whatever. And then she says, okay, no problem. I'm not running as president. Let me put this nice gentleman in Mundo Gonzalez.
How long before this happens? What is your prediction? Before Christmas?
Imminent, because
we're on the verge. You're saying within days we're going to see something happen.
Because this is what we did with Iran, that we gave ample notice to their commercial airlines. Do not overfly the Venezuela. That's exactly what the president has done. And now this is not going to be hard. 80% of the Venezuelans voted for the opposition. You have 8 million Venezuelans in exile. We're talking about the largest reserves of oil in the world that will be doing business with the American oil companies. And that is something that I have made very sure that they understand. American companies in Venezuela for the next 100 years.
All right. Well, you heard it. It's imminent in just days. Congresswoman Maria Salazar.
Thank God for small favors and for President Trump.
Do you see why maybe they are going after regime change in Venezuela? Let me take a quick break. I'll be back on the other side of this.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals. Defenders of individual rights and freedoms. Credible. Trusted. Grounded in reality. Maverick News. Maverick News. Defending free speech. Free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
So we have Adam Kinzinger explaining here, his view on the Pete Hegseth's orders to kill them all issue. He says that it appears to him they saw these survivors hanging on to the boat trying to survive, and instead of being humane, he ordered them killed. So I think he, too, is calling for an investigation to verify exactly what happened. Here's what he has posted, and I think that it has merit.
Listen, the news about this, what they're calling the double tap of the boat. So the first strike on the boat in Venezuela, I guess Pete Hegseth had given the order that there are to be no survivors, which in and of itself is not a legal order. But regardless, gave that order. And we could even argue about whether this whole boat campaign is legal or not. I think there's obviously huge issues with it, but let's even put that aside because something way more egregious happened. So the very first strike, the boat is struck, and again, this is the very first boat in the whole campaign. It's struck, they're looking on it on infrared or on daylight TV cameras, and once the smoke basically clears from it, they notice that there are two men holding on to the boat that survived the strike, okay? Holding on, surviving. Now, let me just tell you what happened. The commander made the decision, SEAL Team 6, to go and finish these two off and kill them, okay? Let me just be very clear. That is illegal. So here's the rule in the water, not to mention the fact that at that moment, those two are not combatants because they've been in effect neutralized. This is the equivalent of shooting a prisoner, shooting somebody who's surrendering, or shooting a civilian, which obviously gets done, but the United States opposes and is a war crime. So there's that whole thing, which is they're unarmed combatants at that moment. They do not have, even if you want to argue that the people with a boat carrying drugs represents a clear and present danger, at that point, there is no boat. Very likely the drugs are gone because the boat was struck, and you have two people that are just simply trying to survive. The obligation then at that point for the United States is to actually rescue those two. We're obligated. It's also the law of the maritime law, which is a distressed sailor or a distressed boater, regardless of national origin, regardless of anything, you save them. In World War II, one of the biggest issues we had with the Japanese where if you had like a downed airman in the water or people that had, a boat went down, so people bailed and abandoned ship and they're sitting around floating on debris or they're floating in their life jackets, the Japanese were coming and strafing them. And it was a huge war crime, huge issue. In fact, there's so many stories about, the U.S. shoots a Japanese U-boat or whatever, or a German U-boat or whatever. And then we turn to, once we know the area is secure, to rescuing people. And Americans have been rescued by enemy boats. What Hegseth ordered was a strike against basically illegitimate targets. So at that point, unarmed, and it violated the maritime law. Now, here's the thing, and people will say sometimes, and I hear it, which is like, well, the terrorist would do it, so why shouldn't we? It's because that's what makes us not terrorists. The fact that we have we're very good at war. We're very lethal. We can basically destroy whatever we put our mind to it. But we do have humanity behind it, which is when somebody's distressed, we will help them. It also, in World War II, for instance, U.S. prisoners were treated well by Germans, relatively speaking. Why is that? Because Germans in the United States were treated relatively well when they were captured. So how we treat people often leads to how we are treated ourselves. So not only is Hegseth, I think, very liable for a potential war crime here, so is the commander that ordered this second strike, because this gets into that realm of illegal orders and when you should resist an illegal order, particularly if you're in a command position. That commander absolutely should have known better. So there's going to be a lot more information that comes out on this, but this looks like a pure and simple war crime. Unfortunately. And it looks like a war crime that was blessed from the highest levels. Now, are these people going to be held accountable? I don't know. I think Donald Trump is going to basically pardon everybody by the time he leaves office. And we know he's not going to prosecute. But if there's any more stories like this, this is egregious. And this is way below the honor of the United States military. And so keep watching this to see what happens. But I got to tell you, this is gross. This is disgusting. This violates both laws of decency, maritime laws, POW laws, and how we do armed conflict. Not to mention that the whole strike on the boat campaign, in the first place, has not even been authorized by Congress. Man, we are dealing with amateurs and evil amateurs at that. Pete Hegseth is all he cares about is performance. He wants to look tough. So he translate that into like, let's kill everybody, which by the way is not strength. That's what weak people do. Strong people know when to stop and to show mercy. It's absolutely disgusting. So if you're a Republican member of Congress out there, and I know some of them watch my stuff, by the way, and you don't ask questions about this, you are complicit. You're complicit. You have a responsibility now, which is to get to the bottom of what happened. I expect you to, even though I know many of you are cowards and won't. This is your responsibility.
Wow. So let me just pause, regroup, come back. We're going to talk about this crazy, terrible, tragic shooting out in California.
Maverick News. Fighting for freedom.
Okay, we're back. So, child's birthday party in Stockton, California turned into the scene of unimaginable tragedy overnight. Gunmen opened fire at a crowded banquet hall, killing 4 people, including 3 children, and wounding 11 others. The suspected shooter remains at large tonight. The area sheriff's spokesperson says the victims who died were ages 8, 9, 14, and 21. Children and adults were among the injured, several of whom were rushed to local hospitals. Their conditions have not been released. The shooting happened just before 6 p.m. in North Stockton at a banquet hall in a shopping center parking lot shared with businesses, including a Dairy Queen. Investigators say between 100 and 150 people were attending what was described as a young child's birthday celebration. Sheriff Patrick Withrow told reporters earlier today that indications suggest this may have been a targeted incident. Police say they're confident this was not a random act, though the sheriff stopped short of confirming whether it was gang-related, saying authorities are still gathering facts. California Governor Gavin Newsom issued a statement saying, "Our hearts break for their families and the entire Stockton community." I think we have actually an updated breaking post from ABC. Let's pick that up. Here we go. This most recent.
Next tonight, the urgent search for a suspect after a child's birthday party turns deadly in Stockton, California. 3 of the 4 people killed were children. At least 11 others were injured. Police say this was a targeted attack. Authorities are now asking the public for help. Here's ABC's Melissa Dunn.
Tonight, a manhunt underway for a suspect police say left 4 people dead and 11 others injured after opening fire at a birthday party in Stockton, California.
Our number 1 priority right now is locating either a suspect or possible suspects in this incident and holding them accountable.
Police say gunfire erupted around 6 p.m. Saturday at a banquet hall. First responders rushing to the scene where at least 15 people, including children, were shot and taken to local hospitals.
Tons of cop cars, ambulances, literally people yelling, running, just pure chaos.
The San Joaquin Sheriff's Office telling ABC News the victims who lost their lives were ages 8, 9, 14, and 21.
Violence of this nature has absolutely no place at any time, shape, or form, and children should not be harmed by gun and gang violence.
Now, investigators say they believe this was a targeted incident, and tonight, Lindsay, community members are holding a vigil for those victims. Lindsay?
Melissa, thank you.
So we'll keep an eye on that one. Now, I don't know if you are you aware of this story? I didn't know about this until actually today. I have to give credit to CTV for this, so I'll put it up on screen. Even though it isn't really a CTV story, it's about Time Magazine making the news, just not just reporting it, making news through a news story. Time Magazine quotes Canadian satirical website The Beaverton. So there was this article, and they used a quote from The Beaverton. It's a satire magazine, and the quote was used as attribution, stated basically as a fact. So it documented comments that were supposed to have been made by this controversial ambassador to Canada, Pete Hoekstra, who got his shorts in a knot over Doug Ford's accurate anti-tariff ad campaign, which used accurate and real audio from former President Ronald Reagan. Anyway, the quote from the Beaverton that was used and stated and portrayed or published as being factual was a Canada that would be very easy to target with 500% steel tariffs or one Patriot missile aimed at Parliament Hill. The problem is that Pete Hoekstra didn't actually say that. And this was left lingering out there for some weeks, I guess, before really very much attention was focused on it. And now now it's finally getting some attention, and it's creating it's generating some questions, not just about Time Magazine, but how the research was done, and even about how AI may have factored into this, because there's some speculation that AI may have been used to research the article, which may have generated the information that was used in the article that inaccurately put that quote in there as being factual, when in fact it's just a joke. So it shows you that even the most prestigious, or what some would say the most credible sources of news, even some of those mainstream outlets can get it wrong. And of course, we've seen that often they do get it wrong. Anyway, it's kind of funny, but also concerning, because if they're doing that, what else are they getting wrong? Probably a lot. Have you seen this clip? We're getting into kind of the more entertaining aspects of news now. I've got this clip of Laura Loomer that has resurfaced. It's making the rounds online. Let me see if I can. Here, I've got it here. This is pretty embarrassing, I'd say, for Laura Loomer, conservative who's supposed to be championing conservative traditional values. She's in this clip, embarrassingly, all over Mike Ma. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He is, we'll say, a fairly right-wing political influencer. And listen to the way she talks about. I'll just let the clip roll. It speaks for itself. It kind of creeps me out. Here we go. Take it away, Laura.
Your hair and your eyes look so good. You're like beautiful.
Thank you.
You're like an Aryan degenerate goddess.
Thank you.
I love it.
Thank you. You're Aryan too.
I know, but I'm Jewish.
It's okay.
Because you're such a cutie.
Don't mess my hair. God damn it. Fix it.
I disagree.
Fix my hair.
I disagree completely.
Did you fix it?
I did. But like that picture you posted on Instagram recently when you got like reinstated on Facebook was so hot. Like seriously.
I appreciate it.
It's so good.
It's a good picture.
Your skin and the Nazis hate me.
It's fun.
The alt-right people want to put me in a gas chamber because they're obsessed with the Jews.
I think they're just memeing on you, but it's okay.
But it's okay.
Right.
I don't care. I love it.
It'd be like that sometimes.
I know. They're just jealous because I have big tits and an Ashkenazi IQ.
Yes, that's what it is.
Yeah.
You got it.
Anyway, next time you're in New York, let me know. We'll hang out. Bring your girlfriend to New York sometime and we'll all hang out. We'll go to like really cool restaurants and hang out and we'll have a blast.
Yes, I will bring my girlfriend.
Yeah, I want to meet. What's Becca?
Yeah.
Becca.
Yes.
She's so sweet.
You remember?
Yeah, of course.
Yes, you'll meet her.
You guys are so sweet. I hope it works out because like I said, I know it's all an act. Like I know everything you do on Twitter is like so fake and not real, but
yeah,
like
it's all fake.
it's so sweet that you like and your girlfriend have been together for 3 years. I love it.
I know, it's all an act.
Do you know something? Like I'm gonna tell you a secret. Like do you know so many people in this movement who preach trad life are like fucking people on the side and like cheating on their partners?
That's
like,
so bad.
Like they're not even like really trad life.
Such
like
scum.
Like my ex is like dating somebody who's like super trad life and she was like fucking my boyfriend while we were dating and like ruined our relationship. And I act like it's okay, but like it's really sad because like I love when people like keep, you know, tradition in their relationships. It's just really sad.
I shouldn't have that. Yeah. Parliamentary press gallery event overnight. Pierre Poilievre made a bit of a surprise appearance. This is also entertaining in a bit of a different way. Do you think Laura Loomer might have been under the influence of something? Maybe a couple of things. When she was recorded doing that, was she aware? Enough. I'm just gonna move on to Pierre Poilievre. So he's at this press gallery event, and there's an impersonator. Anyway, I'll let this roll too. I don't know if you've seen it. It's kind of funny, so I'll share it with you tonight. Here we go. Laura Loomer. Okay. To Pierre Poilievre.
So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the only person who misses Justin Trudeau more than Susan Delacourt. The Conservative leader, Pierre Poilievre.
Hello, everyone. Yes. Yes, hello. Yes, hello, everybody. Yes. Excellent. Excellent. Yes. Yes. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Yes. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, yes. Very nice, very nice. Good evening, gentlemen and biological clocks. I am Conservative leader and star of This Hour Has 22 Minutes, Pierre Poilievre. I'm sorry I'm late. I just came in from my riding in Bubble River. Sorry, I wrote that down weird. Baby butter crop top. It doesn't matter. I know it. I know it. I know it. Okay? I'm not really sure where I will be sitting yet. It doesn't matter. I'll just take that guy's chair. It'll be fine. I'll just take a chair. Okay, so I've written down a few things that I would like to say. Oops, sorry. That's the ballot from my last election. Yeah. I'm on here somewhere. I don't know. Man, this makes it really hard to vote. Wow. Well, I gotta say, yes. So, you guys remember when I lost for a minute and didn't have a job in politics? I felt like I was 15 again. Yeah, I didn't know what to do as a regular man, right? I didn't know I was allowed to date an astronaut. My new campaign manager, Steve Outhouse, don't laugh, it's a regular name, everybody has it, it's very common. It's very, very common. He says that I have to be more likable. So he sent me out here, he said, can you convince everybody that you're likable in 90 seconds? And I said to him, I can say all the likable things about me in way less than 90 seconds. Right. And if not, we'll just hire an actor to be likable for me. Yeah. We found me on the CBC. That's right. I know, right? CBC. I don't know who the cuckold is here more, me or me. I love the CBC, by the way. I think it should be funded more, to be quite honest. You can quote me on that. Write that down. Guys, write that down. I'm going to fund the CBC even more. Quote that. All right. Sorry, reporters. I know that I haven't been the nicest to you. I'm very sorry. I love reporters. Just, don't talk to me before I've had my morning coffee. I like tea, by the way. Any NDP here? Any NDP? Oh yeah, whose +1 were you? Boom, roasted. Don't worry, I will be roasting all relevant parties. The Green Party. Moving on. I'd make fun of the Bloc, but honestly, I never know what they're even saying. It's crazy. Yeah. I'm late. I don't know. Is Mark Carney here? Oh. Who cares? Yeah. It must have been annoying eating dinner next to the elbows up guy, right? Just up like that. I'm gonna put him down. It's rude, okay? He's doing my ideas as well. Pipelines and firing everybody is what I would do. Yeah, this proves it wasn't my policies you didn't like. It really was me. Yeah. It really was. So this is the new me. Okay? Take me in. I'm likable now. Yeah? Does anyone want to yell, lead us, Big Daddy? Anyone want to yell it out? Please yell it out. All right. Well, before I leave, in honor of me and the Conservatives, I will reveal our new slogan. Long live the CBC. Long live the CBC. Long live the CBC. Long live the CBC. That's right. Long live the CBC. Long live the CBC, everybody. Long live the CBC.
Une grande tournée d'applaudissements pour la version Timu de moi. A big round of applause for the Timu version of me, everybody. As you know, Chris Stars on This Hour has 22 minutes, which is the second funniest satire on CBC after Power in Politics. Chris is actually the most expensive comedian at the CBC, and in fact the most expensive in the entire world if you measure on a cost per laugh basis. Now, just to be clear, to all the CBC staff who are gathered here today, Don't believe what you hear. And by the way, when I speak of CBC staff, I'm not just talking about the PMO comm shop. I'm talking about all of you. I never said I was going to shut down the CBC. I said I was going to defund it, which means that we can find some creative funding methods to keep it going. Like maybe they could move their head office to a Caribbean tax haven so that Brookfield could pay for it. The company might have some spare office space above that bicycle shop in Bermuda. Or another revenue source would be for David Cochrane to start charging for the water he carries for the Liberal Party. The third way is for me to donate royalties. And I'm announcing that I will do that today. Royalties for all those who copy me, imitate me, or steal my ideas. I think Mark Carney is here today. He wanted to have an impersonator of his own, but then he discovered that Mr. Burns is a cartoon. But who's ready to axe the tax? Build the homes. Oh, wait a sec here. They gave me my speech for the January Conservative Convention. Geez, there's got to be some content in here I can use. Down with the out-of-touch elites. Oh, wrong crowd. I know. No more greasy lobbyists. Oh, that's not going to work either. Fire the overpaid consultants. Oh, I see Regan Watts is here tonight, so that's not going to work. All right. I guess we're going to have to settle for some more boring three-word verb-to-noun slogans like eat the food, drink the booze, fake the laughs. But it wasn't just the slogans that people criticized about my last campaign. Look, and fair enough, we made some great gains. We added 25 seats, 2.5 million votes, but we need to get over the top, and that means making some adjustments, some changes, and that means I have to look inward into what changes I have to make. And I've been told since the election that I need to gain those extra few percentage points by being more lovable and human. So naturally, I've commissioned a poll on how to do that, and the preliminary results are in. Option A, I can get a dog, or option B, and I'm quoting the pollster here, I can find more meaningful ways to connect with people on a personal level and make emotional connections with Canadians. So I immediately called the pollster and said, what kind of dog? Now, clearly, we Conservatives do need to be a lot more pleasant. And I hear these reports about people kicking in doors, calling each other snakes, yelling, and I thought, who leaked this morning's staff meeting? But come on, none of you really believed Chris d'Entremont's story about being threatened and intimidated by my whip and my House Leader. Have any of you actually seen my whip and my House Leader? Andrew Scheer has not intimidated anyone in the history of man. And Chris Workington, well, he is so skinny, he's like the poster child for long-term Ozempic abuse. But the whole thing has us all thinking about caucus management. I think that Stephen Guilbeault would actually agree that this is very important. I hear that the NDP actually rejected having Guilbeault join their caucus. What an ego blow. Come on, Don. Is Don Davies here tonight? Don, come on, man. Beggars can't be choosers. And surely Stephen Guilbeault's brand of crazy would fit in right between the delegation of furries and the Queers for Palestine. I see that Elizabeth May's here, and that's great, but I have to say I get a little nervous around Elizabeth because she's a hugger, and of course, I'm allergic to feelings. So we'll go back to the NDP. The NDP does have a table tonight, not a full table. They don't have official table status. But we can't forget about the NDP the way Canadians did in the last election. And isn't it great to have the Prime Minister here tonight? Right here in Canada, of all places. So he's been dodging me in question period. But Prime Minister, I don't take it personally, so let's put those differences aside and let's give him a big Grey Cup welcome tonight, everybody. Well, that was a little bit more kind and gentle than in Winnipeg, where he got more booze than Elizabeth Bay's liquor cabinet. An economist, Mr. May is, Mr. Carney, of course, is an economist, and economists deal with incentives. And I understand he promised that the media outlet that gave him the biggest applause would get the biggest bailout tonight. But he is right about one thing. Canada does face an existential crisis and threats against our sovereignty from a foreign leader. Let's take a look at what we're dealing with here. We're dealing with a very tough guy who's staring us down and facing us with a number of very big threats. So all of us have to come together and get on message. But the trouble, Prime Minister, is I'm having a difficulty finding out what the latest slogan is. And you know how much I love slogans. And we're all wondering how you went from elbows up to who cares? And we're told that the answer is that the big change happened when the president threatened you that if you didn't back down, then he would grab you by the pipeline. It certainly has been a busy time for the Prime Minister in international travel, checking on his investments, trade negotiations. If he's not been fighting for mom and pop shops like Brookfield, trying to get into Gulf states, we haven't seen such an altruistic champion of Canada's economy abroad since the Chinese lent us Dominic Barton. But the Prime Minister can't do this work all on his own. Dominic LeBlanc can't do it all for him either. I think Dominic now has more portfolios than any minister in Canadian history. I think he's just added heritage to it. Prime Minister, give Dominic a break. Please let him focus on the thing that is most passionate in his life, like giving contracts to his closest family members. Now, parlons maintenant de la nation québécoise. Et bon, je sais que les journalistes québécois sont encore fâchés parce que j'ai refusé de les embarquer dans mon avion de campagne. Mais la prochaine fois, les journalistes du Devoir vont m'inviter. Ça va m'aider à dormir dans l'avion de campagne. Oui, il y a une nouvelle étude, il y a le Devoir ici, une nouvelle étude de Harvard qui montre que le meilleur remède pour l'insomnie, c'est l'éditorial de Mme Marie Vassal de 3000 mots. Mais Rad Khan, est-ce qu'on va inviter Rad Khan sur l'avion aussi? J'espère qu'on va permettre Rad Khan. Est-ce que Rad Khan est ici? Rad Khan, je sais pas, je vais inviter Rad Khan d'aller sur l'avion. Christiane Noël va parler avec ses deux sources conservatrices recyclées et anonymes à l'arrière de l'avion. En même temps, mais si vous êtes là, mes amis de Radcan, peut-être vous allez voir que je suis capable de bouger, même plus rapidement qu'un député libéral, dès qu'on lui parle de fling-flang. Mais blague à part, les choses vont mieux pour moi au Québec. Ben oui, même Pablo Rodriguez voudrait avoir ma popularité. Mais je sais que vous autres l'aimez. C'est un gars qui est très sympathique. Il a une belle coupe de cheveux et il cuisine bien. En passant, on me dit qu'il cuisine des très bons brownies. Now, before I take my seat and grimace my way through the rest of the evening, let me say I can't wait to be Prime Minister so that I never have to come back to this God-forsaken event. As you know, I've banned all of my MPs from coming to this event. So as soon as I find out that I was here, I will be kicking myself out of caucus. But in the meantime, on behalf of Doug Ford, let me propose a toast to the Parliamentary Press Gallery. Without you, anonymous sources would have to get a real job. So everybody, please raise a glass to the Parliamentary Press Gallery. How's that for a change in tone? Thank you very much, everybody.
Little comic relief to wrap up tonight's program from Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre And I have to say this concludes tonight's broadcast, and I'm not sure when I'll be back. I may not be here tomorrow. I may not be here the next day. I may be. I may not be. I have to take care of some family things. So I don't know when I'm going to be back. Depends on how things go. And all I can say is keep your radar up. Keep those antennae airborne. I'll be back at some point. Probably not tomorrow. Probably not the next day. Maybe later in the week. I just don't know. But hopefully, when I do resurface, you guys are still here. Thanks for hanging in there with me tonight. I'll see you on the flip side when I return. Bye for now.
I heard old Cosmo howling last night up on the hill where the moon shines so bright. He was singing a tune, lonesome dogs cry about freedom, running and touching the sky. If I leave here tomorrow, would you still remember me? Cosmo's free, running wild, wild as the wind can be. He's a free dog, he's a free dog, he's a free dog. Cosmo's got them paws that just itch to roam. He's chasing his dreams, he's far from home. With a heart full of love and a spirit so free, he's living his life wild and carefree. If I leave here tomorrow, would you still remember me? Cosmo's free, running wild, wild as the wind can be. He's a free dog, he's a free dog, he's a free dog. He's got the stars in his eyes, the wind in his fur, a tail that wags like it's never heard of a blur. Cosmo's on a journey, he's got no chains. He's running through fields, breaking all the lanes. Now the night's getting cold and the sky's turning gray, but Cosmo's still out there, he's miles away. He's not looking back, he's got his path to tread. With every step, he's leaving his bed. If I leave here tomorrow, would you still remember me? Cosmo's free, running wild, wild as the wind can be. He's a free dog, he's a free dog, he's a free dog. So if you're feeling lost, just think of Cosmo's run. Remember his spirit, his freedom, his fun. And maybe one day, when you're feeling low, you'll find your own freedom and let your spirit go. If I leave here tomorrow, would you still remember me? Cosmo's free, running wild, wild as the wind can be. He's a free dog, he's a free dog, he's a free dog. He's got the stars in his eyes, the wind in his fur, a tail that wags like it's never heard of a bird. A heart full of love and a spirit so free. He's living his life wild and carefree. He's got the stars in his eyes, the wind in his fur, a tail that wags like it's never heard a blur. Cosmo's on a journey, he's got no chains. He's running through fields, breaking all the lanes.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.